Hey, I tell you what I'm going to give you, Snakes. I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yella, no good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
All right, Johnny, I'm sorry. I'm going.
1, 2, 10. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Three Films and a Podcast has no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode. All film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders and is used solely with the intent of film criticism, commentary, and education under fair use law. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Three Films and a Little Podcast. My name is Ben Lawhorn, and I am joined today, as always, by Matt Weiler and Tyler Beck.
What's up?
And today we are here to talk about our third watch party movie. We're going to be talking about the Chris Columbus-directed Home Alone, written by John Hughes. I didn't realize until we started watching this, I forgot there was a Chris Columbus movie. That guy knows how to make a Christmas movie, right? That's right? Like, oh yeah, like this and Harry Potter and Stepmom and stuff like that. Like this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's doing it really well.
Yeah.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah. Hats off to Chris. But yeah, I mean, we had a great time again with the watch party.
Hey, excuse me, guys.
Oh,
hi. Hello there.
Whoa.
Yes.
Hey,
Coming in hot.
And, yeah, what's up?
You guys should be a little bit worried because
We
I
are.
am coming in hot.
I told Matt, I was
Yeah.
like, I feel like we're going to get grounded.
You are.
Get some liquid
You're right.
courage here.
No, I feel like I have some stuff to clear up.
Okay.
Before
Let's
you guys
hear it.
get
I'm
too far
excited.
into the episode.
Let's
Okay,
do
so
it.
I'm getting ready to listen to the Babes in Toyland episode.
Wait, hold on.
I really
Who-
enjoyed it.
Wait,
It was great.
Hold on. Who are you?
What?
For our listeners, who are you?
Oh, yeah. That's why. So I picked that show. I'm Angie. Anyways, so I'm super excited to watch it and the podcast episode. And pretty quickly though, my excitement turned to just like straight up rage about the garbage that Matt was spewing about me.
No.
Is it fake news?
I wanted to clear some things. First of all,
Okay.
after my rage settled a little bit, it just turned to embarrassment that there are people out there that think that I don't know the difference between Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage. That's not true. That's never been true.
Wrong.
We're going to get a
No.
fact checker for the pod
I mean,
now.
I only know Matt, so I don't know which one of you's a liar and which one of you tells the truth.
It's Matt.
Okay.
This is what happened. He was confused about my confusion because I do have two actors that I sometimes get confused, and maybe it's not any better than Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage, but it's Nicolas Cage and oh my
If you
gosh,
say John
who?
Travolta.
Keanu Reeves.
No, oh my gosh,
Angie, we've all been confused by Keanu Reeves.
Bruce Willis. It's Nicolas Cage and Bruce Willis.
Bruce
No, how is
Willis.
that better?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
You're right. That was not better.
Maybe it's not any better, but wait. No, this is the confusion, okay? So I know who is who, and I know who's in what. Like, yeah, Bruce Willis is in Sixth Sense. Nicolas Cage is in Wicker Man. I know that. But I got confused about which one I didn't like. Because I knew there was one of them that I didn't like, but the other one was fine. So it's Nicolas Cage that I don't like.
Okay.
So I think that's
Okay.
where Matt was confused is because I have some feelings about Keanu. I also have some feelings about Nicolas Cage, but I do not confuse them.
Okay.
And then
Well, okay, so I have some follow-ups. So, like, do you really not like Nick Cage? Because I feel like you came around on Keanu. Is Nick Cage still an option for you to, like, grow to
No.
love? Or is this, like, a solidified,
don't-
we're done?
I don't think I'll ever love Nicolas Cage.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, not with that attitude.
And that's true.
This is news to me.
I mean,
Wait,
This is all
but
news
like
to me.
I can watch him in movies and he's fine, but he does kind of he bothers me.
Oh, well, we're going to have to apologize
Fair
to our
enough.
Nick Cage fans out there.
Do you dislike Nicolas Cage movies? Like, are there movies that he's in that you like?
No, I mean, like
National Treasure,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine in it. National Treasure is very fine. Everything about it.
Oh, wait, he's fine in it or he's fine?
The first one.
Why not both?
I love it.
No, he's never been fine a day in his life.
Someone hasn't seen Raising Arizona.
I actually have not. So
It's fair.
I also, before I let you guys get to it, I wanted to talk about my Keanu feelings because I'm also confused about them. Because I feel like I have conflicting feelings because I'm sure as a guy, he seems like a great guy and someone I'd really get along with. And then another thing Matt said that's not true is I've seen him in a lot of stuff. I've seen him in all his things, but it had been a lot of years.
Yeah.
So there was something like watching them all back to back to back. We did have like a Keanu marathon. Something
Jealous.
did kind of make me I was kind of like, oh, he's kind of endearing to me.
Excellent!
Yeah.
And I get that he has like his Keanu-isms and whatever and people like that. And it still kind of bothers me. But like now, I don't know. He doesn't bother me quite as much.
I think some of it might come from the fact that he's embraced who he is. He's accepted it. I totally get what you're saying about like back in the day, everyone, he's easy to make fun of just as like Ted Theodore Logan and just like these roles where he's like very, I don't know, Keanu, but then like he does stuff like The Matrix or like John Wick or, he embraces the stuff like in Always Be My Maybe. It's like, okay, he's at least aware of his reputation and that I think at least kind of gives him a little bit of credit. So
yeah, for sure. Like Keanu's not going to, and maybe he has been on Broadway doing like, Broadway shows or like maybe he's done Shakespeare or whatever. I mean, I'm sure he had to do it at some point in his like actor training. I'm sure he wasn't great at it. But I'm sure people liked looking at him on stage. I think that's the whole deal with him is for whatever reason, he's got enough charm, enough presence, and enough. He just looks good on screen. And I honestly kind of think it was one of those things where he like kind of like what Ben was saying, he got in on the joke about himself and he just leaned into it. And people just liked that. You know what I mean? I think he knows exactly what he does and what he has to offer. And so do the people that put him in his movies. Because like, you're right. He's not a great actor. I mean, he's good in movies, but he's not a good actor. So I get it. But if you said you didn't like Keanu,
I would come find you and fight you.
I would never. I'm so happy to have you on. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm
little
glad
surprise
to be on.
sneak attack.
Yeah.
I want to know, how do you feel about your pick? How do you feel about Babes in Toyland?
Oh, I thought it was a blast to rewatch. Like, it's bad. It was a terrible movie, but I had a great time watching it again. It had been years. I mean, like Matt said in the episode, it was one of those that I watched a bunch when I was a kid, but it's been a long time.
I had fun with it. I mean, like you said, it wasn't a great movie, but it's fun at least. Like I was entertained. So what more do you really want,
Right.
I don't know how many times I've had the Cincinnati song in my head since watching this. It's like
I come from C-I-N-C-I-N-N-A-T-I, Cincinnati, the best town in Ohio, USA.
At first they called it Cincy, but since Cincy is so natty, they named it Cincinnati, so they say.
I actually totally forgot there were songs in it. When they started singing, I was like, whoa, is this a musical? I blocked that
which is
out.
crazy. I mean, I know we talked about it. It's like they had 43 minutes they left on the cutting room floor. Like how much of that is singing? It's probably so much.
Oh,
It's probably all
songs. I
songs.
could see that.
You're setting a dangerous precedent here, Angie, because if anyone knows where we live at any time we're recording, now they know they can just pop in.
Pop in. You'll be welcome.
She's just going to show up out of
That should be
nowhere.
a patron offering.
Yeah, that's true. You can pop in anytime.
Pop
One of
surprise
three
back on an
houses.
episode. No, I mean, my rage was mostly at Matt, but I feel like there was a little bit of built up anger towards you guys for not stopping his hot garbage that he was spewing sooner.
I mean, we're
Fair
taking
enough.
it in.
No,
Everyone's
Take him
welcome
at
to
his
their
word, But I'm glad you were able to clear the air. Now everyone
too.
knows Andy
Me
does not
too.
hate Keanu.
I had no idea this was stewing up.
it's been weighing on me. I've replayed
I
Matt's
had no idea.
words
There's been
over
a
and
dark
over in my
cloud
brain.
over the
I'm just
Weiler
as shocked
household.
as everyone else right now.
Okay,
Well, I'm
I'll
excited
leave
to
you
pick
to
Nick
it.
Cage movies for our next
Good to see you
round.
guys.
So
Bye.
See you, Angie.
see ya.
Wow.
Whew, okay,
Oh,
that
I
was.
love it.
Oh, I can breathe
Right.
easy now. I was scared.
It's been real. Everyone have a good day. I'm out of here. I can't take any more.
And that was our Home Alone episode.
Yeah.
That's it. Yes. That's what it's like when the web bandits just show up out of nowhere. Just, oh man,
Those
That was
incompetent
good.
bastards.
I loved it. I'm glad she's able to speak her piece. I hope she'll come back on for another episode. I think we could have a fun movie draft or something with her. I think it'd be a good time.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd
for
be
sure.
awesome.
All right. With that Keanu mishap all taken care of now, we can get back to the business of the watch party. And we had a great turnout at the watch party. We actually rolled it into a triple feature, which was insane. That was
I
kind of
know.
nuts.
I'm sad I missed it.
Man, we can't keep this up. This next movie is gonna turn into 4. I mean, we joked about someday we'll just do all 23 MCU movies. Man, I think we got to cap it at a triple feature. But it's easy with Christmas movies. They're short, they're fun, they're engaging. We had a good time.
If the interest is there and people are down, it's fun. So you might as well. I had to bail after Home Alone, but I wish I could have stayed. What did you guys end up watching?
We watched the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh, nice.
And then we rolled it into, unfortunately, Jonathan Taylor Thomas's I'll Be Home for Christmas,
Oh,
which we all thought was going to be a great idea. And none of us had any recollection of how bad that movie was.
Yeah.
don't know if I've ever seen it, so I don't know.
Well, we
I
did
don't
the
think you're
legwork
missing
for
too
you.
much. Yeah, we saved you from that. It was kind of a letdown to end that way, but the chat was definitely blowing up though during that movie. So that's what's fun though. If it's not a great movie, at least you can entertain yourselves. It was a good time.
Yeah, just make fun of it.
Exactly. But yeah, anyways, if you're listening, we'd love to have you at our next watch party. We keep doing these every month. It's probably a broken record at this point, but honestly, they're one of the most fun things that we do, if not the most fun thing. I love it. It's great to get people in there chatting, talking about, whatever we're watching and just building that sense of community. So I cannot recommend it highly enough.
If you're listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube or whatever, it's a good chance you like movies. There's a decent chance you like us, or maybe you hate us enough to watch us and make fun of us. So that's just another excuse to wrap it all into one little package. You can watch a movie and hang out with us and a bunch of other people that show up and contribute to the chat and have a good time. A certain one of ours partners, Ashley, was on fire on that watch party. It's MVP in my eyes. She was killing me. The funniest person.
Yeah. It's funny that Angie showed up because she asked if she'd be able to make an appearance as the MVP. I was like, maybe if we go 2 for 2, if January you're still the MVP, feel free. We can't just dish it out the first time,
You pull a Steph Curry and go back to back.
But yeah, she definitely was the MVP without a doubt. So, yeah, I don't know exactly what there is to be said that people don't know about it, but Tyler, I would love for you to break down Home Alone and kind of let us know what the movie's all about.
Yeah, for sure. If you haven't seen Home Alone by this point, I have a few questions for you. The first one is, why did you not take the opportunity to watch it with us on the watch party?
Yes.
That would be the first question. And the second question is just a general how or why. I guess there's plenty of movies that are classics that I haven't seen, but if you're around our age, late 30s or mid 30s or whatever, this came out right in our wheelhouse. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How old is, I think Macaulay Culkin's the same age as me.
Yeah, I think
but
so.
that's besides the point.
Yeah.
It was, I remember Home Alone 2, everyone had to get a Talk Boy because of his little Talk Boy recorder or whatever. So it was just this came out right at the right time, especially for us, the three of us recording this podcast. And, most people that listen are around the same age. So anyways, if you haven't seen it, it is the story of an 8-year-old troublemaker that must protect his house from a pair of burglars when he is accidentally left home alone by his family during Christmas vacation. It stars Macaulay Culkin with Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. It's also got John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara, and John Candy, who I actually forgot was in this until the watch party.
Yeah.
So that was a very welcome surprise. I had just watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Nice.
And, it's weird. He passed. I mean, I definitely knew who he was, but, and I like grew up with him to an extent with a lot of his movies, but it's hard to appreciate what he does as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's easier to appreciate, as an older man with gray in my beard. He's just, I'm sad he's not around anymore. He's just he has a very warm presence to him. He seems like a very sweet person, and he just is like he just seems like a really cool guy. I don't really know anything else about him, but so that was cool to see him. But yeah, Macaulay Culkin, his name in the movie is Kevin McAllister. And like it said before, he gets left home alone for Christmas, and Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern play a pair of bumbling criminals who try to rob his house, and he sets up an elaborate death trap, just trying and stop them. And I mean, it's it's written by John Hughes, and so it's got that heart and that warmth to it, and it's just, I don't know, man. I feel like we're going to talk a lot about John Hughes here in a little bit, but the guy can crank out a classic, and this being no exception. And it's full of like many, many iconic scenes. If you haven't seen Home Alone, which I would be surprised if that was the case, I'm sure you've seen some of the classic scenes or parts from this movie. And I'm curious, Matt, if you have a favorite part or whatever, favorite scene or whatever from Home Alone.
The thing about Home Alone, I've noticed as like it's a staple every single year, is that because it's just become ubiquitous and it's just become a staple to everyone's house during the holiday times, is you find something new every single time you watch it that's just like hilarious and just like tickles you in a different way than a previous viewing.
Yeah.
And obviously like the slapstick's always great. And it's always interesting to me that never gets old. Like I know exactly what's going to happen for whatever reason. Every time he steps on that nail, it just like hurts.
Oof, yeah.
But one thing that I particularly liked this year was they're in the car and they're watching Kevin walk home, and he's like,
"How do you want to go in?"
We'll go to the back door. Maybe he'll let us in. You never know.
Yeah, he's a kid. Kids are stupid.
I don't know. Just
so good.
It's just so I would just say like the banter I think between the thieves, the wet bandits is hilarious to me. And Marv's enthusiasm about being the wet bandits, always having to come up with a nickname, filling up the sinks. It's just it's just so funny.
It's so stupid. And I know that's the point, and I love it. It's just like it's the dumbest goddamn thing to do, and I love it so much.
They played so well off each other though, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Like it's one of those things. It happens with a lot of movies. Like you couldn't recast this. Like these two guys are the Wet Bandits. They work so well together. Even just like the classic comedy stylings of like a tall guy and a short guy. Like the Laurel and Hardy or that kind of a thing. Like just all this that they bring to it, and seeing Pesci at the beginning. I mean, honestly, for me, like I don't know how many times I've watched this, but I feel like when I go back and watch it again, I pick up on something else, and just like how long Pesci lingers in the home at the beginning. Like, oh, I forgot. Like he's really casing the place there. Like I thought it was just like a quick, in and out thing. Like he's there for almost. I'm surprised he didn't get any pizza. Like he's there for quite a while. But I don't know. Like the whole family dynamic, just the chaos, because. The way the movie is, obviously it's ridiculous. Like it's crazy to think that something like this would happen. But to John Hughes' credit, I think he creates this like moment or this chaos where it's understandable. Like if you had all the in-laws or whatever with you in the house and you guys are going to Paris the next day and everyone's like, the chaos makes sense as to why it's like, cool, you got this person, that kind of thing. Like I get it. I get why this could happen. it seems ridiculous, but also airports were a lot easier back then. You didn't necessarily have to match up your ID to your ticket or anything. You're just like, yeah, sure. Right. Just go take a seat. I mean, I like that they do that. They show up at the plane. It's like, whatever's in coach, just go ahead and take it. The fact that the parents just like, peace, we're sitting in first class. Everyone in coach, deal with our kids. Like that's like one of the, oh man, I thought that was
different
just
times.
Ridiculous. Different times. I would hate those parents if I was in coach, but I mean, we kind of hit on it already, but one of my favorite parts is probably the John Candy stuff.
Allow me to introduce myself. Gus Polinski. How are you? Polka King of the Midwest. The Kenosha Kickers.
Hi there. How are you?
No? That's okay. I thought you might have recognized. Anyways, I had a few hits a few years ago. That's why, just polka, 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 polka. No?
Researching into it a little more, apparently almost all of it, if not all of it, was impromptu.
Sure.
John Hughes just kind of like started rolling like, cool, here's what we're trying to get to. And
well, yeah, you have him and Catherine O'Hara. Like, just let him go, man. Let's just see what happens.
Exactly. And they had their past history together from SCTV, so they had worked together before, so they already have that dynamic. But just all of that stuff in the van at the airport, like I love their dynamic. And whenever I see John Candy, it's like it's gonna be good. Even if it's in JFK, it's like I'm happy to see John Candy. Like I love seeing him. So what about you, Tyler? Do you have anything that kind of stuck out to you as a favorite part?
Yeah, this time a lot more of the more sentimental parts or the sweeter parts of the movie really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on his name. The old man with the shovel. What's his name in the movie?
Beardy.
Beardy.
It was Beardy.
Old Beardy.
Old shovel beard. Anyways,
Marley.
Marley. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Marley. Yeah, just the stuff with him and the scene in the church. I'm a sucker for like a dramatic sounding choir, or I don't know if that's you know what I mean, just that like the and especially like that particular song they're singing. Or like, what's the, oh my God. It's a good thing we're not getting paid for this.
Speaking of, if you want to go to our Patreon, you can feel free to sign up.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like those more like dramatic Christmas
kind of contemplative.
Songs. Yeah, just like almost melancholy, They like, when I was a kid, that part used to scare me, like at the church with the choir.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was like, it used to really freak me out. But now, I see it in a whole different light. It's lonely people on Christmas, or obviously there was families in there and stuff. But it was a safe place for people with nowhere else to go. And obviously, we get the moment with Kevin and Marley, working it out together, and Kevin learning a little bit of a lesson there and making a new friend. I don't know. That part really stuck out to me the most. Obviously, I remembered all the slapstick stuff with, Marv and Harry getting the shit kicked out of him and all the funny stuff that Kevin does. But yeah, that one, it really hit me this time. And I would have to say that'd be my favorite part from this time watching it.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's got to be something that, probably come out with age. And it's the kind of stuff, too, that, comes across in the script. I think Hughes and Chris Columbus do so well. But it's just like we take the simplicity of a child, just kind of like, well, why don't you just call your son? Like, yeah, I guess I could do that. Just like it's very black and white. It's like, well, if you want to talk to him, then call him. It's like, yeah, I guess that does make sense, And it's I don't know. It's so touching though, that moment. Cause Kevin's just like, I don't get it. Like, just call him. If you want to talk to him, that's all there is. When we started the watch party, like, we were kind of coming up with the draft and the movies that were going to be thrown in here. We had like 16 movies. We had like 30 something in the pool, dropped it down to 16. And then we voted from there. And it just felt like, without a doubt, we were going to be watching Home Alone, which was great. I had a blast, but it just made me think, like, yeah, there were some classics that kind of got left off, like a modern classic like Elf. We didn't have like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or the original Miracle on 34th Street. Like, arguably there's some other very notorious Christmas movies that just couldn't make the cut for this. But I have to just still think, like, I don't know what it could be up against that it would lose to. It's like, is Home Alone the best Christmas movie ever? Like, is it the best one that we've got? Is it just the most synonymous with Christmas? And if it is, like, what is it about Christmas movies, that make them so special? I'm be curious to hear your thoughts on that, Tyler.
Yeah, I don't know. It may very well be the best Christmas movie. I'm looking at a couple lists right now, and according to this list, it's not the best Christmas movie. But for me, it's not my personal favorite. Although I do love it. I think I've talked a bunch about Christmas Vacation being my favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Also, A Christmas Story has always been a very fond watch for me. I used to love the animated, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff. And then more recently, like you said, I'd probably lean towards Elf. It's got to be on anyone's Rushmore of the best Christmas movies. It hits all the boxes, right? It's got comedy, it's got some tenderness, it's got some slapstick, a little bit of violence in a muted way, and it's got a redemption story. It's got a lot going for it. And there's nothing bad about it. So it's hard for me to say if it's the best. It may very well be. But for my money, I would probably watch Christmas Vacation before I watched Home Alone. But I don't, that's just one man's opinion.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And honestly, I got thinking about the 3 movies that we watched, and I kind of want to talk more about what makes a Christmas movie. So Matt, I'm curious to hear what you think. But when I thought about the 3 movies that we watched, it felt like one of the things that makes a good Christmas movie is just it being centered around family. Like with Home Alone, they're trying to get back together, and then we watch Muppets Christmas Carol, and it's just kind of like Scrooge acknowledging the I forget what's Tiny Tim's family's name, but like just their family all being together. Cratchit. Yeah, exactly. And then I'll Be Home for Christmas. I mean, while that one has a little bit more of like, I don't know, questionable motives. He just wants a car, but it's still like the overall theme is he's trying to get back with his family. I'm like, oh, that kind of runs all together. If you're going with Elf, if you're going with It's a Wonderful Life, anything like that. Like, I think that's kind of one of the central aspects of a good Christmas movie is just the fact that, generally speaking, when you're not in the year 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, we spend the holidays with our families, like that's the time that we all come together and do stuff. And I think for me anyway, not that that's some like brilliant acknowledgement or anything, we're like, oh, that's what it is. It's all the family stuff. Like that's what I'm connecting to on this. But I'd be curious, Matt, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have like other ideas of like what makes it such a good Christmas movie or what makes a good Christmas movie?
Yeah. So agreeing with Tyler, I think Home Alone isn't my favorite, but I would maybe say, I'd maybe make the argument that it's the best Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because you have like, you have the argument for like, It's a Wonderful Life, kind of the anti-Scrooge who doesn't want to be here anymore. And he gets to see what, life is like without it. And kind of like you said, Ben, it comes back to family and the people who are important to him, relationships. And like the miracle of life around Christmas time and togetherness, all that. And then you have like modern day classics like Elf. And I feel like those two extremes like cover an area of like Christmas subgenre. And I feel like Home Alone probably crosses into, like Tyler said, a little bit of everything. Like it crosses all of the Christmas genres. So it could really sit with any of them. Yeah. And still stand up. And on top of that, I feel like there is an element missing in a lot of Christmas movies where like you have the secular Christmas, but then you also have like Kevin McAllister and like meeting up with a guy at church, and for a lot of people, like they only go to church on Christmas. And that seems to be like probably the case in this scenario, given like the chapel and all that. But that's still like a very Christmassy thing to a lot of people. And so you have like the secular Christmas story, you have like this touching, like I don't know, communion in the church where he's like realizing, you know, what he could do to be better with his family. And it is all centered around family, but it also has like a dynamic of the story revolving around Kevin as a kid. And then you get the arc of his parents having left a kid. But then you have the arc of the neighbor who needs to reconcile with his older kid, and he's already an older parent. So like it kind of spans everyone. Like it touches everybody.
For sure.
No person is left out of it. And so that would be why I tally it with as the greatest, probably, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I'm with you guys too. I don't know that it's my favorite. You know, I think it would be in the running for, you know, if there was a worldwide vote on Christmas movies, it'd be up there as the winner. But it's so enjoyable. And I think the Chris Columbus, John Hughes combos, it's a deadly combo, you know. That's a Spielberg and John Williams level stuff, you know. It's like if you get these two guys together, like it's going to be amazing. Tyler, did you have any thoughts? I didn't mean to cut you off or anything.
When I was listening to you guys talk, I was trying to think think for myself, you know, what makes a good Christmas movie. And to me, every Christmas movie has like a sense of nostalgia to it, right? Because not only do we have the nostalgia of our experiences with these movies growing up, but also it can take you back to a time in your own life or a memorable Christmas where things went haywire and now you laugh about it. And so, yeah, to me, it's like if it can really hone in on that nostalgia, that feeling of warmth and that feeling of, you know, no matter what, we've all got each other and it's Christmas and we're here together at the end of the day. I think it's just like you said, it's all about like family and togetherness. And to me, if it can make you laugh, if it can make you cry, and you can also excite you to some degree, it's probably going to be a good Christmas movie. So
just pull all the right strings, you know, and just get you to tear up, to laugh, everything.
Which is like, you know, that's the recipe for any good movie, right? So it's just you put a Santa hat on it, and now you've got a classic Christmas movie. But I don't know.
I mean, I thought it was great. Like, I don't know if you were setting me up, just putting that ball on the tee for me, you know, but talking about nostalgia, I mean, who, you know, is more synonymous than that than John Hughes? I mean, you think about those John Hughes movies, you think about Weird Science and Breakfast Club and 16 Candles, all this stuff like that. Those movies have such a sense of nostalgia, obviously, where, you know, when they were based and when we saw them anyways, you know, just kind of like, oh, that's what it was like back then. That's so cool. But I think John Hughes is amazing. You know, like we talk about when we watch a movie, we like to come up with two different kinds of Rushmore mountains, you know, one for the social media post and then one for inside the episode. And I was just like, I really want to talk about John Hughes because like I there's not someone that I think makes movies that are just, I don't know, like just so much fun, you know, like maybe it's just recency bias since we've talked about him recently, but it's almost like a Taika Waititi. Like if you watch something, you're going to be having a good time with it. And I think that's kind of what John Hughes does. And also, you know, just kind of like batting 1,000. I mean, that's pretty close. I mean, Curly Sue, you can, you know, is a little questionable, but for the most part, everything he directed, it was just like as a home run, you know. So gets to play my hand here a little bit. I mean, one of my absolute favorite movie of all time is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So I think with that being said, we should get into our John Hughes Rushmore Mountain right now.
These are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
I will kick it off, and we already know the number one slot. This is a movie that, like, surprisingly, wasn't intentional, but I would just always watch it when I stayed homesick from school. And it just made sense, you know, like, oh, yeah. I've honestly, this is easily the movie I've seen the most in my entire life. I faked sick quite a bit. So I love this movie. And eventually this became Mom. Like, Mom, I apologize. I was really ill, but I don't know. I could talk about this movie for hours. I love this movie. The whole day obviously is crazy if you think about it in a literal sense. Like, how did someone pull that off? But I just love the idea of it. Yeah, Ferris Bueller locked in is my number one spot on every movie list ever. I love it. Number two for me is a movie that I don't know if you guys ever had this experience, but I did, specifically with my grandmother. And on TBS was The Breakfast Club. And she sat down next to me and watched, and she said, "Oh, I love this movie." And it's like, you're a grandma. You can't love this movie. Like, how do you love this movie? But like, she says one of her favorites of all time. And so like, I've always had a special connection to it. Then I just, at that age in my life, I never saw my grandparents as a person, you know, and it's like, it's like, oh, this is a great movie. I'm like, you're right. It is. But how do you know about it? It came out before I was born. So like, yeah, of course you've seen
you stopped liking it.
Yeah,
you said
exactly.
that you stopped liking it.
You have to stop once you're a grandparent. No more fun movies. Yeah, I don't know. That's another movie that I just think it's a tight movie. Like we talked about Marriage Story being a great ensemble, and this is kind of the same thing. Like there's like 8 people on the cast, you know, like including the janitor. Like it's a very tight group, but what they do, like, and gotta be on the Rushmore for like in real time movies, you know, like it's so good. I love Breakfast Club. We talked a little bit about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation already. You know, the John Hughes is going to include his directing and his writing. I love Christmas Vacation so much. I love Vacation. I love that one.
For sure.
Just one of my favorite lines ever.
What do you think?
I think you're all fucked in the head.
I love Vacation. And again, another John Candy cameo at Wally World. But Christmas Vacation, I mean, it's hard to argue that's the best, but to cap it off, to go back to John Candy, Uncle Buck takes my number 4 spot for my John Hughes Rushmore Mountain.
Where do you live?
In the city.
Do you have a house?
Apartment.
On a rent?
Rent.
What do you do for a living?
Lots of things.
Where's your office?
I don't have one.
How come?
I don't need one.
Where's your wife?
Don't have one.
How come?
It's a long story.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
How come?
It's an even longer story.
Are you my dad's brother?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
38.
I'm your dad's brother, all right.
You have much more hair on your nose than my dad.
How nice of you to notice.
That is a movie. I mean, again, I guess, you know, young Macaulay Culkin, I guess we're, you know, kind of on a theme here, but John Candy is just a gem, you know, like, like I love everything that he's in, but this to me is his best performance of all time. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. You know, it's such a good movie. Like, oh, he's cooking our trash. Like, there's just so many lines from it, and just the chaos that he creates coming into the household. Yeah, but John Candy he just does it with all this charm, and the kickback from the car, just everything about that movie. My mom, one of her favorite things to say for some reason is,
You ever hear of a tune-up?
You ever hear of a ritual killing?
well, the line that she loves for some reason. I think it's great. I think it's so fun. So that's definitely like a you know, Lawhorn family household movie is Uncle Buck. So yeah, that would make my 4 be Ferris Bueller, The Breakfast Club, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and Uncle Buck. Matt, I am very curious to hear what makes your John Hughes Rushmore Mountain.
Well, I'm not going to disappoint anyone. I have no upsets. All of mine are
okay.
I'm falling in line. I'm falling in line today.
It's about time.
No curly Sue on this one, huh?
The only reason I mention Home Alone, which is disqualified because this is the episode covering Home Alone. The only reason I mention Home Alone right now is to call out that if I had Home Alone on here, 3 of my 4 would be John Candy movies.
Nice.
So it's just worth noting there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a rule, that we couldn't put the movie we're talking about on our mountain.
Oh, I mean, I think we just kind of assumed everyone. I mean, Home Alone just kind of makes it. You know, there's some of these movies when we do the Rushmore, it's like, well, yeah, that would just be on all 3 of ours. But, you know, follow your heart. There's no real rules here. If you want to throw Home Alone on, throw Home Alone on. Just go for it.
I can't promise that Angie won't angry rage on here again if you put Home Alone.
She wasn't that scary. I could take it.
So yeah, I've got to throw Ferris Bueller on there.
Hello, may I help you? You can sure as hell try. Hi, I'm Abe Froman. Party of 3 for 12. Is there a problem?
You're Abe Froman.
That's right. I'm Abe Froman.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, that's me.
And it is funny, growing up in the same neighborhood as Ben, I think of Ben every time I think of Ferris Bueller. So that should be a compliment to Ben.
Yes,
that
I'll take
he's
it.
loved a movie so much that when people think of that movie, they think of him.
Especially an iconic movie like Ferris Bueller. Like the fact that you have like taken ownership of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's a kudos to you, my friend.
It's a hard thing to do.
Just play the movie at my funeral. That's all I want. Just everyone watch Ferris, say your piece, and get out of there.
I won't be able to trust that you're not pulling a Ferris on us and you're out gallivanting.
That's true. Little man on the moon, just watching everyone. Yeah.
My number 2, and it's funny that you mentioned this being a family favorite. I think I watched this movie multiple times in your room with Graydon, Uncle Buck.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a classic. I couldn't have this list without that on it.
For sure.
My third, another John Candy great, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which has somehow made its way into conversation on this pod several times now.
Yeah. Multiple times.
So if you're not getting the nudge to watch it, maybe now's the time.
But any excuse to use that Steve Martin at the counter clip, I'm going to take it. You know, it's just one of the best scenes ever. So,
A fucking Datsun, a fucking Toyota, a fucking Mustang, a fucking Buick, 4 fucking wheels and a seat.
I really don't care for the way you're speaking to me.
And I really don't care for the way your company left me in the middle of fucking nowhere with fucking keys to a fucking car that isn't fucking there. And I really didn't care to fucking walk down a fucking highway and across a fucking runway to get back here to have you smile at my fucking face. I want a fucking car right fucking now.
Which,
yeah,
we could talk about it now since you just brought it up. I think I asked about it in the watch party. Like, who did the angry person at the counter better? Steve Martin or Catherine O'Hara in Home Alone?
I mean, the Steve Martin one, just the amount of F-bombs in there was
so much venom.
Yeah. And
I think
it's not his nature. Not that it's in Catherine O'Hara's, but like,
sure.
I just seen Steve Martin be like that.
I think it's gotta be, it's gotta be Steve Martin because like, I feel like what he did in that scene is what everyone thinks when they're in that situation. You know, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like the internal monologue. Like every sentence you say starts with the F word in your head. You just don't say it. But for whatever reason, he just says it. So yeah, it's got to go Steve Martin. Sorry,
for sure.
Sorry, Catherine.
No, it's great. No, I love it. I love it. If anyone else feels differently, feel free to challenge us.
Let us know.
And then, I guess before I move on to my fourth, since we're talking about John Candy, I don't know when we'll talk about him again. Out of nowhere, my dad had me watch like the end credits scene. I mean, as the movie ended and the credits rolled, I think it was The Great Outdoors with John Candy and
Dan Aykroyd. Yeah,
and it's just a ton of fun. And it's just like they're like playing blues and everyone's just like kind of boogieing.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's awesome.
That scene, the whole like eat the steak scene, like that's just if there's any eating competition scene ever, this one's just like got to be up there as the best of all time. I love it.
Oh man. Anyway, my fourth has got to go to Breakfast Club.
I got a question. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Give you the answer to that question, Mr. Bender, next Saturday. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
And it kind of, I mean, you said every great thing that needed to be said about Breakfast Club, but this harkens back to what Tyler was saying about Christmas movies and the nostalgia and like sort of like the real lifeiness of Christmas movies. And I think Sing Street said it best. That's another movie that I love that I'm tying in here. But when they're trying to describe like that sort of nostalgic music, like of The Cure and some of the other bands of that era, is just like the happy sad.
What does happy sad even mean? How can it be both things? It makes no sense.
And like, I feel like great Christmas movies are that happy sad.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect feeling of nostalgia. And John Hughes is just the master of happy sad.
For sure. Yeah, you just, with those two words, happy, sad, you put in exactly what I was trying to fumble out of my brain when I was trying to talk about what makes a good Christmas movie. And I think you nailed it. It's like it's a happy, sad. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll just jump into mine since I stole from Matt. Wait, did you do your fourth? Did you say all four of yours?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So mine had to be Ferris Bueller for first one, not just because of Ben, but I mean it's an all-time great. So how could it not be? I can't. No matter how much I want to iconoclast here, I can't do it. It's got to be on there. My next one is also Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I didn't see that. The first time I saw Planes and Trains was probably just a couple years ago. So it's still pretty fresh to me. But it instantly became one of my all-time favorite holiday movies for sure. And definitely a favorite John Hughes. Obviously, Christmas Vacation. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, let alone Christmas movies.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot.
I've talked about that at length on this podcast, so I won't go into it too much more. And for my fourth spot, I had a really, really, really hard time because there's a ton of movies on here that I like. I've only seen Uncle Buck a couple of times, and I definitely enjoyed it, but I don't know it well enough to put it on my list. I also really do like the original Vacation. I have very fond memories of Beethoven. I used to watch that all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Dennis
Charles
the Menace.
Grodin, right?
Yeah, Charles Grodin, who my grandma, I just remember, hates Charles Grodin. I don't know why. He hates Charles Grodin.
I mean,
That's like
Charles Grodin, Nick Cage thing for your grandpa and Angie to watch.
Sure. I remember as a kid, like, I didn't understand, like, I just saw them as their characters on screen when I was a kid, you know? And so he's like, I hate Charles Grodin. And I was like, how do you hate? Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. And it's always stuck out to me. So now, like, I feel like I hate Charles Grodin too.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. I don't know. So yeah. And then what were some other ones on here? You know, obviously Home Alone. And you know, he's done a ton of stuff.
So much.
But for the fourth spot, it was sort of a toss up to me between Breakfast Club and 16 Candles. And since you guys took Breakfast Club, I'll have to admit that probably should be my fourth spot, but I'm going to go 16 Candles. I've only seen it once. I saw it at Broovies when they used to show, classic movies for $5 or whatever. Or they used to be free, I think. Oh, shout out Broovies. I love that place. I miss it. But I saw it once there, and it was so much fun. Like my one and only memory of watching 16 Candles is good enough to put it on my Rushmore. And I mean, I did really like the movie.
It's great.
But I remember there was a woman there, and I think she was like living her. I think she was dressed like Molly Ringwald. She was there by herself.
Oh man,
she was like partying in the seat, just having the time of her life. Like she was an older woman, and I was so enthralled by her. like it wasn't even to the point where we were making fun of her. Like she was just there to see her favorite movie, and she was having a couple beers and just loving it. And so I don't know, it was a cool experience and a great movie. So yeah, 16 Candles, number 4. So I've got Ferris, Planes, Christmas Vacation, and 16 Candles. And like
great.
He's like, you could, other than the fact it would ruin your computer screen, you could throw a dart at IMDb and you throw 4 darts and you'd land on 4 good choices.
It's great. I mean, I have it pulled up here because I was going to talk about the stuff that we didn't, pick. Honestly, like I would probably swap out now. I won't. I'll keep it as it is. But like Mr. Mom is like great. Michael Keaton. Mm-hmm. Like that movie is so good. I might switch that with Christmas Vacation if I had gone last, just for the duplicate purpose. But
great.
Mr. Mom is so good. Weird Science. I love that.
Honestly, if I'd seen that a couple more times, I think that would have made my list because I remember really liking it, but it's just been so long.
So good. Such a great soundtrack. I mean, that's how I have Ashley in my phone. So
nice.
Spot in my heart for Weird Science. Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, She's Having a Baby, The Great Outdoors. So much good stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I mean, even just Dennis the Menace and Beethoven, like going back to like, just going straight to the children stuff. He brings the nostalgia with him, whatever he goes to. Sounds like we're all big fans of John Hughes. I don't know anyone who isn't. If Angie isn't, no more coming on the pod. If she's anti John Hughes, then like I gotta cut her off.
John Hughes, he's one of those. He's almost like, how can I describe this? Like, you almost don't have a choice but to be a fan of John Hughes. You know what I mean? Because so many of his movies are such classics, and they're movies that, like, I don't have kids, but Matt, you do. I imagine there's a lot of movies on here that you would feel comfortable at certain points just throwing it on for the kids or having it available for them. I know that's different now because they have access to everything in the world through the computer, but it's definitely something that you can share with your kids as they grow up and watch them experience it and grow up with it like you did. And so it's just like, it's almost like a given that John, you know what I mean?
Seriously.
Like, yeah. It's almost like the way I feel about like the Jazz. Like, I love the Jazz. I grew up with them. It was just a part of my life from day one. And John Hughes in a lot of ways was too,
Yeah. My kids love, I mean, the children's movies that he's done that they've seen, they love, like, as if it were something new. Like, they choose it. They choose Home Alone over several other movies that they could choose. They love Dennis the Menace. I mean, if he was able to do something that still connects with kids in 2020, like, that's pretty impressive. Because I certainly wasn't watching movies that came out when my dad was a kid.
Right.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty cool. I feel like when I was going through the list on his IMDb, it's like when you first discover that like everything that you wear was made in China. It's like you see the tag, it was made in China. You look everywhere, it was made in China. Like, I'm looking at John Hughes, I'm like, oh, John Hughes did this, John Hughes did that. It's like everything. Every good thing.
I mean, yeah, and he had this touch, like this, just like bring humanity to every single movie, no matter what it was about. Like, John Hughes is just one of the all-time best. So I'm glad we were able to do our Rushmore Mountain and talk about him a little bit. I'm really happy that we got to watch Home Alone. I think everyone had a good time with that. I think the watch party was just a great success. I'm looking forward to the next one. I will say that I guess we'll just get your brackets ready. This is going to be there's going to be some competition for this next one, so I'm super excited about that. But yeah, I mean, we got some fun episodes coming up. We're going to do a year in review next week. That'll come out and kind of talk about our Rushmores for the year from the stuff that we watched. We have our first movie draft coming up, which I think we're all very excited about. We're going to be doing more of those in the future. Then we'll finish off our partners picks with Man on Fire and Vox Lux. And then we're taking on trilogies. So I'm super excited to get into those. Two of them I've never seen. I've seen one of the 9 movies, so I'm really excited to like get into this and watch all of these. So thank you so much, everyone, for your support and your participation. It's so fun to see this community grow organically. I know we talk about it all the time, but it's really sincere from all of us. Like, this is just what we want. We just kind of want to build this movie club community, and everybody's involvement, a comment on Instagram, a like, a watch, whatever, like it means so much to us. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hope everyone's staying safe, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.